Welcome back to another edition of the WTBU Sports Hockey Podcast. We don't have an official name, but that's what we're rolling with for now. It's been a while since you've heard our voices, at least on this specific show. We did a little trade deadline reaction and preview back at while we were at school, and since then, a whole pandemic has happened and is still happening. And hockey took a hiatus, but it's back, and we're here to talk about hockey being back. I'm Patrick Donnelly. With me is Joe Pohorelis and Chad Jones. How we doing, guys?
Doing good, Pat.
Just,
Trying to
just
grind
glad.
through another day. Yeah.
Just glad after 4.5 months we finally have so many things to watch now on
Seriously.
whether it's hockey, basketball, baseball. At least baseball for now. Maybe not next week, but we'll see.
That trade deadline show felt like it was about 3 years ago now.
Yeah, I know.
Like, forgot half of these guys were on these teams. Like, Andre Kasha's a Bruin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but as Joe said, baseball's unraveling, but the NBA and the NHL seem to have it figured out. Almost shed a tear of joy when I saw the TV schedule today between both the NBA and the NHL. But quite the week of hockey. They honestly, like, in general, they had exhibition games start up on Tuesday, multiple games a day, and then you roll into today where games started at 12, and it's really been nonstop. And we got one more coming up at 10:30. That's Jets Flames. That'll probably be over around 1 a.m. Eastern. So just a full day
Just
of hockey.
literally all day. If you're
Stapled to the
awake
couch.
and on either coast, you could just watch hockey all day if you want
stapled to the couch, honestly. So I guess we'll jump into it and kind of take a look at things as far as the NHL's return to play format is, and that'll sort of – obviously games have started today, but one game in we can kind of talk about those a little bit and what our reactions for those are, and predictions for these qualifying series and round robins. And I guess if we want
Which I'm already all way off on.
Yeah, it's not looking great for me early.
I was way off about who was going to win these games. Man, it's not looking too hot with my predictions beforehand.
Yeah, it's not looking great for me early. Probably like 50-50 right now. But yeah, the NHL solidified a plan at the beginning of July or end of June. So that's the timeline. So an underrated important part of this is that they extended the CBA and got labor peace for the next 6 years. So the CBA was up in 2 years, 4-year extensions, so 6 years. Math numbers guy. That's why we go to com.
Although the cap stays the same.
Flat cap for the next 2 seasons, which is a hit to teams like the Leafs and the Lightning who are right up against it. But
which is pretty.
Yeah. So obviously there's the CBA side of things, and then there's the actual on-ice product side of things, where the top 4 teams in each conference, as you guys may know, like listeners probably know by now, but we'll run through it quickly anyways. Top 4 teams in each conference are playing in a round-robin type of tournament to determine the top 4 seeds heading into the playoffs. And then you have the following 8 in each conference in a best-of-5 qualifying series to decide who the final 4 seeds will be. So in the East, the top 4 seeds are Boston, Tampa, Washington, and Philly. One of these teams doesn't belong here, but they're there anyways. In the West, you got, for the top 4 seeds, St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and Dallas. And your play-in series in the East go Toronto, Columbus. That's 8 and 9 seeds right there. Pittsburgh, Montreal, 5 versus 12. New York Islanders, Florida Panthers. I believe that's
7-10.
Oh, 7-10.
7-10.
And then we got New York Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes. That would be Rangers are 11 and Hurricanes are 6. In the West, we got Nashville, Arizona. That's 5 or 6 and 11, right? I believe.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
You got Vegas, Calgary, Winnipeg, which is 8-9. Chicago, Edmonton. Chicago is 12. Edmonton is 5. And Toronto blank on this last one here.
Wild Canucks.
Yeah. Vancouver, Minnesota. That's your 7-10.
Yes.
Yep. And so they had the phase 2 return to voluntary workouts, phase 3 training camp, which was a gift from God for a lot of these guys, I bet. And then, as we said, games started this week, and an official competitive game started today. So what do we think of this whole format, fellas?
Well, I think it's
I thought it was a good idea. Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. Okay, just Zoom calls. They're the best. Yeah, I think it's a good idea that we were able to get teams that weren't like going to be into the playoffs regularly if they went right into the playoff format of 8 through 1, because I think it's a little bit unfair if teams didn't have quite the 70 games to push them into 82. This really helped out the Rangers. I thought that'd be a good push for them because they were the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the NHL when the calendar flipped to January. So I think it's fair for those teams that didn't get off to the best of starts to then go in and try to get into the playoffs. And while the Capitals and Bruins fans have legitimate gripes about the round robin style tournament where you have to then reseed, I think that they can only complain so much about it. Like, we have hockey back, so I thought that was a little complacent just for Bruins and Lightning fans and for Vegas and the Blues to really complain about the seeding for it. Because at the end of the day, like, how much can you really care if you end up as a third seed during this weird year where there's no home ice advantage and you might have an easier round in the third, facing as the third going into the maybe as the first seed. Like, who knows how that's going to help play out.
Yeah, I'm just happy that my team is in the top 4 to begin with, because I know if I was one of the teams, if I was 5 through 8, I'd be like
Heart attack.
I'd be on edge just because
Oh my God.
I think best of 5 series are like, obviously it takes fewer games, so they tend to be the most volatile, especially when you look at, the baseball playoffs. There are a lot of times where you see the top seed fall to the wild card team or whoever, or just the lower seed in general. So, but as someone who's already locked in with one of the top 4 teams, I think it's really exciting for neutral fans to just see chaos ensue, like with Chicago today, too, as one example.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love the qualifying format for the bottom 8 on each conference. Because like Chad said, the Rangers were just on fire. There's no other way to put it. And obviously they kind of deserve to be in the dance somewhat. So I think it's kind of the best of both worlds for teams like the Rangers, or out west you have the Coyotes, teams like that, where maybe it was an injury-riddled year where they couldn't quite get going, or bad start, get hot like the Rangers or the Wild in the West. And kind of get your feet wet there. And like Chad said, my only gripe as a Bruins fan was that they have to play for the 1 seed again. But I've thought about it, and honestly, like it doesn't matter that much to me at this point. Like, I've looked at possible matchups, and really the only teams in the East that scare me really are the teams
they're in the round robin.
they're in the round robin with
Yeah.
them. So that's Washington and Tampa. I guess maybe Pittsburgh, but I don't imagine you would get Pittsburgh immediately. So like, if matchup goes accordingly, you're not like whoever you're getting in the first round, I think you're able to handle. So it's not the end of the world for me.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't like how the NHL handled this was that now one of these teams that gets bounced the round robin is eligible for the first or second overall pick in the draft. I did not like how they handled that. That should have been the NHL draft should have been eligible for the teams who missed out on the round robin and or the play-in. That should have been who was eligible for those like top 7 picks. It should have been anybody outside of that.
See, I like it, and I don't at the same time, because I love the chaos element.
You want the chaos? Yeah, you want the chaos. Yeah.
I love as obviously as a playoff team supporter, like a fan of a playoff team, I'm not sweating out the lottery. But I do understand, like, oh, Detroit got screwed here. Ottawa, Buffalo, same thing, really. But I love the chaos element.
Blackhawks get to compete for the cup and also the first overall pick. So.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what if the Canadians just throw this so they can get the Quebec kid, or at least the best odds at the Quebec kid? That, like, obviously wouldn't like it, but I do just like the craziness, and it's something to talk about too. Like, it's interest and a storyline through these qualifiers on top of the on ice play. Like, especially if you're in Chicago or Montreal, it's buzz like, oh, like, it's not the end of the world if we get bounced. All of a sudden, we have the best chance or tied for the best chance at the first overall pick.
Yeah, the buzz factor is for sure real. Absolutely.
Yeah, my only complaint about the whole lottery situation is that it's flat odds for the 8 teams that get bounced. Like, I feel like it should be the lower seeded teams that went into it. Like, if Montreal gets bounced, then they have the best odds because they're one of the 12th seeds. And then whereas, like, if Pittsburgh loses or something, they'd have the lowest odds because they were one of the 5 seeds. And
yeah, like Pittsburgh, they can't be the 5th seed. Come on. Pittsburgh can't be the 5th seed and also competing to get the first overall pick. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Joe's way of looking at it makes a lot more sense than mine. Because
Yes.
I was thinking like it should be like, oh, if the Canadians get swept and no one else does, the Canadians should get the best odds. But Joe's way makes way more sense.
Cause, yeah, if that were the case, can you imagine? Like, although I don't know, I don't think the players would really would throw games, but like that would be in really that would make things really crazy.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman talked about this on the 31 Thoughts podcast. Like, I guess the Canadians, I'm fogging in the details of paraphrasing here. I guess the Canadians at first weren't keen on the return to play thing because it's kind of like, why are we here? Max Domi might not be able to play. It doesn't make a ton of sense for us. But, like, now they're here, so they're going to try. Obviously, like, they're not going to just throw in the towel. Like, you never know what can happen. But don't you think at least, like, Marc Bergevin or some people in the front office, maybe even the players, just have in the back of their minds, like, hey, if we lose here, we have a chance at Lafreniere. So I think that's pretty interesting.
100% the front office people think that way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But kind of looking at the
That's what I was thinking about the Blackhawks. Like, I thought for sure there'd be an issue with the Blackhawks.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how, like, because the way they did the format, it was points percentage to kind of make sure that the Rangers and the Blackhawks and teams of that ilk made it in. Where if you didn't, it'd be like Buffalo. I'm not sure who in the West would have gotten in, but it was kind of like the I think it was Anaheim. Buffalo and Anaheim would have made it in if you did it off points and not points percentage, which would have just been.
And they were – I know Buffalo, if they played, like, one more game. Yeah.
Yeah, it just would have been.
Buffalo would have beaten, like, Montreal, like, the day before the shutdown. They would have been able to go in. Anaheim was 5 points back. Like, they had 70 points. Like, they didn't deserve really even be considered for it.
Yeah, I think all the teams here.
All 3 California teams out. It's pretty nuts.
That is crazy, but I think all the teams here are the ones that deserve to be in.
Yeah.
All due respect to Buffalo, and we know what state Anaheim's in, right?
I mean, Buffalo's organization does not. Yeah, Buffalo's organization.
Yeah,
does not
Buffalo just needs to like hit the.
They're going through a hell of a time.
Buffalo just needs to hit reset completely, which they did. They completely swept house during the pause. But I guess looking around the score sheets today, we had the Rangers and Hurricanes open things up at noon. Hurricanes took that 3-2 with seemingly a million penalties. Mm-hmm. Then you had that followed up with the shock of the day, kind of Blackhawks taking down the Oilers 6-4, and then the kind of mid-afternoon, early evening game, you had Islanders taking down the Panthers 2-1. And currently, the Penguins and Canadians are tied 2-2 at the end of 2. Penguins clawed their way out of a 2-0 hole, and again at 10:30 we have Jets Flames. So, kind of your thoughts on the results of the day so far?
I'm stunned. The Blackhawks got 42 shots, and 6 of them went in. Jesus, Oilers, like, come on here. This was probably the easiest matchup of any team going into the playoffs was the Blackhawks, I would think. And they just to get absolutely steamrolled in the first period, like, come on, guys. Like, let's see some pride out of it.
Yeah, that wasn't the start I was expecting. Like I said to you guys off air, like I was expecting Connor McDavid to just do unspeakable things to the Chicago Blackhawks, which he did. He put up 4 points today, I believe a goal and 3 helpers. But just 4 unanswered, or no, it was, 4 unanswered after Oilers go up early 1-0, then 4 unanswered in the first period. That just can't happen. And I know a lot of people were questioning the Mike Smith getting the start over Mikko Koskinen. And it's like, yeah, sure, Mike Smith has a decent playoff save percentage. I believe it's .947, which is better than decent, but hasn't really led a team, like been the guy for a team in the playoffs at least. Like I remember him coming in place of Dwayne Rollison in Tampa Bay. He never really did much in Phoenix in the playoffs, and even with Calgary, didn't really do a ton in the playoffs. So, like, Mike Smith's never really been the guy in the playoffs. And, like, Mikko Koskinen has obviously never been there, but Mikko Koskinen had, like, just a great year this year compared to how kind of meh he was last year. So I thought he would be your guy here. But obviously Dave Tippett thought otherwise. I'm going to be interested to see his how he goes next game. But then the Blackhawks did recover decently. They outscored the Blackhawks 3-2 over the next 2 periods, but wasn't enough.
Yeah, I thought the interesting thing about the goalie situation is, like, in a normal 7-game series, like, you feel comfortable rolling the guy you picked originally out and just seeing how it goes. But with this, if they go down 2-0, then that it's pretty much most likely over. So they gotta, like, how do you decide how to pick that? Do you pull the guy that you were going with this whole time after just one game, or do you see what else you have and try to get out from there?
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about these best of 5 series where, like you said earlier, it's so volatile. These things can get away from you in a hurry. And it's not like, oh, you go down 2-0 and it's like, all right, at least we're going back home, or at least we got a chance to steal some games on their ice. It's like, no, you're in a 1-0 hole. All of a sudden you're against the wall in these 5-game series. So Oilers going to need a quick bounce back here.
Yeah. It's just nuts how the Oilers are going to do this again to their fan base. It's like they've just been through just hell the last 3 decades, and I just don't get why they just keep doing this to the poor people at Edmonton who deserve much better hockey than this. And Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're always shackled with this though.
I have faith they'll pull it out. I mean, that's kind of a little teaser for my predictions on this series. But I think they'll still be able to get it done. I don't know how much of the Hurricanes-Rangers game you guys caught, but any thoughts there?
Lundqvist looked all right with a couple breakaways.
Yeah. It was a little shaky start early. I think it was 1 shot, 1 goal.
Yeah.
But he did settle in.
He did keep him in that game though with
Yeah, once the chances started piling up for Carolina, he did look pretty good, I was surprised.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you look at the stat sheet and see all the penalties that there were, but just even like penalties that weren't called and just stuff that was going on after the whistle. I don't know if something happened between some of these players at the hotel or something, but it seemed like chippy from the start. There's definitely something else going on there, so it might get pretty physical. And I know Dougie Hamilton wasn't back, but have either of you guys heard anything about whether he's returning at all for the series?
I saw Sarah
so,
Sivian
right?
had something on Twitter about it. So he's obviously in the unfit to play thing, but she had the report that it was I don't know if it was something to do with his already broken leg, if it was some sort of re-aggravation. It may have been exclusive or not. It may have been non-exclusive for that, but I think it's if they make it into the first round, I think it's kind of like Andreas Janssen with the Leafs. Like the further they go, the brighter the chance is they'll get him back, but not sure for the early goings.
Slavin got their first goal, and Jake Gardner had a nice shot too that Lundqvist was able to still get out. So their D was pretty active when getting sick feeds from Aho, and I forget who the other guy was. Stavidijak. I always mess up that guy's name. The guy who centers the line with Aho.
Teravainen?
That dude's name. Yeah, Teravainen. Because they were kind of snapping it around over there, so they looked ready to go from the start.
Yeah, Trocheck looked ready to go too. He was buzzing early. He had that in the first period, that slick crossover move and off right off the crossbar with a pretty zippy backhand. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of the intensity was there from the start in this game. Like early on, Brady Shea just lays a massive hit on Jesper Fast, his former teammate, and Fast leaves the game. You got a goal early, and then all of a sudden, it's like a goal 1 minute in, then all of a sudden 3 minutes in, you got a fight. It was kind of just what everyone had been waiting for. It was just like a nice, I guess, release for hockey fans everywhere to finally see that.
And I think I don't know.
Social media was definitely fired up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if some of the maybe resentment from Carolina is, I feel like, I don't know if they're paying attention to this type of stuff, but I feel like everyone kind of has the Rangers as their upset just to avoid going chalk across the board, especially with how the Rangers played against the Hurricanes throughout the season. But I think Carolina really showed how much depth they have and just how they're really going to grit it out here. And I mean, they're already up 1-0, but I think they have a really good chance to really pull through and go for it.
Yeah, Carolina's my pick in this series. I really want to pick the Rangers because when the Bruins missed the playoffs those couple of years, I just kind of naturally gravitated towards the Rangers for whatever reason. But I mean, I just can't. The Rangers have no depth on the blue line. You look at the Hurricanes, even without Dougie Hamilton, that blue line stacked, forward depth, more experience. just more depth all around. You don't have the circus of who's going to go in net. And even then, like you said, Joe, like they got the chip on the shoulder. I've seen so many people like Rangers are going to win this just because of how hot they were going in the break. They got the young, fresh legs. And even like same thing with the Panthers and the Islanders. A lot of people are just instantly writing off the Islanders when it's like, hold on a second. Like these teams are here for a reason. They were the higher seeds for the reason.
Mhm.
I wouldn't write them out just yet.
Yeah, not a lot of shots from the Rangers, honestly, from more than just like 3 guys. Panarin had 4, Kakko had 5, and Zibanejad had 4, and pretty much everybody else is either 1, 0, or 2. So they're not getting as much production from anybody other than those 3 guys.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help when like I guess we're kind of beating on the same drum here. Carolina just came out of the gates buzzing. But yeah, I think it just serves as the question of depth for the Rangers. Like Kakko actually looked pretty good when he had a bit of an up and down season. And guys who are kind of secondary producers, you expect to be there, whether it's a Chris Kreider, who's honestly one of their primary producers, only 1 shot. Buchnevich, 1 shot. Obviously, use Jesper Fast early. That's kind of tough for your penalty kill, but just not enough guys outside of your go-tos and Zibanejad and Panarin getting it done for the Rangers today. And then looking at Montreal and Pittsburgh, as we said, or Pittsburgh climbing out of a 2-0 hole. Montreal kind of bringing it out early against them. Jesperi Kotkaniemi puts them up 1-0. Nick Suzuki doubles the lead midway through the second. And then Crosby and Brian Rust kind of get the life going for Pittsburgh again. I don't know how much of this game you guys have caught so far, but thoughts there?
So the Rust goal, Penguins keep getting some power play opportunities. They got to bury them. They got off to a hot start, and it must be just so friggin' frustrating when you're actually playing a game. Because I know it is when you're watching it on TV. When your team is like just peppering them early, like 11, 12 shots after the first period, and they get like their third shot goes in, like it was today with the Canadians. That just got to be so friggin' annoying to deal with. Like, you were all over them, you didn't capitalize.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to kind of see the heat map from where the opportunities were coming from for the Penguins. I've been kind of like in and out on paying attention to the game or not. But like you said, that's just the frustrating part of peppering Carey Price with these shots. And I mean, people have been saying us for like since the pause started, like don't let Carey Price get hot. He could steal you a series, which I still don't believe.
Yeah.
Given the way he was this year, and really since he won the Vezina in 2015, he hasn't been the same netminder. But he's kind of showing it today. Although Montreal, that's actually interesting. Montreal shot Pittsburgh in the second. Shots went 6-18 in favor of Pittsburgh in the first period, and then 13-8 in favor of Montreal in the second. But Pittsburgh still has the edge in the game. But I mean, we talked about interesting goaltending decisions. I'm not as much like against this as I was the Mike Smith, but I was interested to see Matt Murray go because I mean, we talk about the up and down year for Carey Price. Matt Murray had a similar just inconsistencies. And Tristan Jarry was just so good for them. I was surprised Mike Smith didn't roll with him.
Yeah,
He's been pretty up and Matt Murray's been pretty up and down, honestly, since they won their second cup against Nashville. Like, he's been a really inconsistent last 3 years in Pittsburgh, and they've seen early playoff exits, things that you never see out of Crosby's Penguins. So yeah, it is pretty interesting they're going back to the guy that they last won the cup with.
And even that second year they won the cup, he was pretty up and down in the regular season. Everyone's like, "Oh, is this guy just going to be? Is he just going to be in like an okay regular season goalie and just turn it up in the playoffs?"
Fleury did that too. Like, what I don't know what it is with Pittsburgh goaltenders. With like during the regular season, they just kind of like even keel, don't really get too hot. They're just always just kind of around, and then when they get to the playoffs, then they have actually like their momentum going forward with them.
Yeah. So I think that does it.
How about Jake Gensel though too? He's got like 44 points. Is that 44 points in 42 playoff games or so?
Yeah,
Still,
Jake Gensel's,
I know he plays with Crosby, but still, like.
Yeah, Jake Gensel's crazy. Just one of those guys in Pittsburgh that came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden is a premier player. And that's huge for Pittsburgh. The timing of everything, because they were supposed to be without him had the season finished normally, but get the extra 2 months or so, and all of a sudden Jake Gensel's fully recovered. But moving on from today's games, still again, Calgary Winnipeg coming up at the late game. But looking at these series as a whole, we've kind of touched on it already. But what do you guys think as far as the way these series are going to go? What are your predictions?
Well, in the East, I had Toronto and Columbus going 5 with Toronto going over Columbus. Then I had the Islanders over the Panthers in 4 because I think as you mentioned earlier, I think the Islanders are pretty underrated in this series. I think Bobrovsky, he's got a pretty checkered history in the playoffs, and he hasn't really been that hot in Florida to begin with. And I'll take Barry Trotz's defensive approach in these early rounds, and then I had Carolina over New York in 4 because we just talked about how deep they are and how the Rangers just don't have that much going for them. And then I had the Penguins over Montreal in 3, but the third period just started in that one, so we'll see if that holds up. And then for the round robin, I had Tampa Bay 1, Washington 2, Boston 3, and Philadelphia 4. Just because I could really see it going either way. I feel like these teams are pretty close enough that it wouldn't shock me if Philadelphia went first.
Yeah,
but
it'd be pretty shocking if Philadelphia sweeps.
But
Philadelphia goes 3-0.
Yeah, I could really see any of these 3 teams being the first seeds. So I don't know. I've got a strong feeling about Tampa doing pretty well though.
Yeah,
So.
Boston's played pretty well against Tampa this year, but of course the Capitals pretty much always have their number. And I think Capitals Lightning is also a pretty even series. Like, how would you say about that, Joe? Like, would you be more scared of Boston in a playoff series or the Lightning?
I mean, given the Capitals' track record against the Bruins, I'd be more scared of the Lightning.
I gotta say so, right?
I mean, the Bruins have played the Capitals better over like the last year and a half.
They have.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good that they don't have to go to Washington. There is still like the last change thing, which is a minimal home ice advantage thing. But I think I'd still rather, at least if I'm the Bruins, I can't speak for Joe for Washington, but I think I'd still rather take Tampa over Washington.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, it's definitely close. I think Tampa's really got, they've, after what happened, I mean, obviously we beat them in the conference final in our cup run, and then they got swept by Columbus after that historic year. I think they're definitely hungrier, although, obviously Boston making that run to the final last year and falling just short has obviously got some juice going for them. But when you have Tom Wilson, who's the best goal scorer in the league, then I think you're confident about your chances against either one. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think these games are going to be really interesting, and I'll probably have a good preview of who we can expect to really have the best shot at making the conference final.
Yeah, before I get into my predictions, which are pretty much all wrong today, Pat, I got a Bruins question. So I was going into I saw your conversation with Brady with the Duck Boat guys, and Brady was against playing Halak in any of these round robin games.
Yeah.
I think Halak should play guaranteed one of these games against, I would probably say the Flyers or maybe the Capitals. Like I would say one of those 3 teams. If you want to give Rask like the first 2, totally understand. But I think it'd be smart for them to play Halak because if not, he's going 5 months without playing in an NHL game. And God forbid Rask gets hurt or is really, really bad in the first 2 games. Like you'd really want Halak's first game action to be like game 3 down 0-2 against, the friggin' Maple Leafs. Like I really don't want to see Halak have to go in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think I kind of talked him into it, and I have not let him forget how wrong he is. Like Yaroslav Halak is going to play at least one of these games, and even like in the playoffs, like if they go up 3-0 in a series, or if just the way rest happens to go, or we have this unfit to play thing, like I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him go in a regular playoff game. Because like this is why you have them. This is why you have the 1A, 1B. It works for you. It works for Tampa. Colorado doesn't have the same big, or not Tampa. Dallas. I'm thinking Ben Bishop's still in Tampa. Colorado doesn't have the same big names, but they still have the same 1A, 1B system. Nashville, it works. Arizona, it works. This is why you do it. It's proven over the last few years that you have to have 2 quality goaltenders, and this is why you extended Yaro Halak, and you've leaned on him this heavily. And that being said, I think just Rask missed practice today. He wasn't feeling well, but he didn't get the unfit to play moniker, so that's encouraging. So I don't know, maybe some bad food.
Yeah.
But so I think it. I've kind of given this some thought because I was very perplexed as to what you do here because obviously Halak's got to play one game, but
Yeah,
if you
I think
play
definitely.
if you play him, it makes sense. Like Bruce Cassidy said, Tuukka is TBD tomorrow. I imagine at this point Halak's going to go tomorrow. Um, so Halak goes tomorrow, and then you say Rask goes Wednesday, Sunday against Tampa and Washington. Rask goes on Wednesday, but that's still almost a week between game action for him. But it is better though because he gets the two games close together to roll into the first round with. Where if he was healthy and going tomorrow, say you go with Halak on Wednesday, then it's an exact week between game action for Tuukka between tomorrow and next Sunday against Washington, or you go Halak again that Sunday against Washington, then it's like a week
Yeah,
between
that's what
games.
that's what I
It
was
was just a
thinking.
conundrum, but I guess
If Rask was healthy, I would have him go against the Flyers tomorrow, and then Lightning, and then have him sit against the Capitals. Because then you give Halak one start before you get into the playoffs. Have Rask get just uber one more day of rest before the marathon springs. But also, like, I think it's smart to play him once because Rask has proven pretty much every single year he's played less regular season games, he does better in the postseason. And this year with a 5-month break, like I really think that's going to help him out because he was awesome in the 13 playoffs against the Blackhawks. He played a lot less games this year than he did the year before, and he was their best bat. He was the best Bruins player going into the Cup. And they should have won, and he should have been lifted in the Stanley Cup last year if the top line and the second line for the Bruins produced. So I really think if you just give Halak just one start in case anything goes bad for Rask or he gets hurt, you can have him go in and still pretty much have a good shot of winning the Stanley Cup with Yaroslav Halak.
yeah, and it's honestly like they've kind of set themselves up nicely for a situation if there's some unfortunate event where Rask gets hurt or what have you, where you have a quality, at least from the sample size, a guy who could step in and start games for you in Halak, and even then, your guy who would be behind Halak, Max Lagacé, it's obviously not a big name, but he has NHL experience. It's not like some bum you're bringing up from Providence. Like he's been up and down between the AHL and NHL, but I mean it's not the worst. But you have these insurance options. Although I wouldn't be pleased about Max Lagacé or Dan Bladar stepping in.
Yeah.
This is why you have
Yeah.
the depth that you have on honestly every position. We saw a couple of years ago against Ottawa when they used like 12 freaking defensemen. Tommy Cross was playing in the NHL playoffs. Tommy Cross had no business playing in the NHL playoffs.
But it was
Um,
still a close series.
yeah. So I guess moving into my predictions, I'm very much in lockstep with Joe as far as the East goes. I had Pittsburgh in 3 right now. That's up in the air. I just don't think Montreal has the stuff to get it done. Whether it's I don't believe in Carey Price or just the offensive production. Like if um, it's great that Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are playing well, but they're young guys. You can't really lean on them, at least not this year, not yet. And who's next for you? Jonathan Drouin, a fine secondary option on a Cup team. Uh, Max Domi, again, not a guy I'm looking to for my premier offense. And Pittsburgh's just a gauntlet. Like that's that. So you got to give them the edge. Same thing. Carolina, I had them in 5. I have it going the distance. I think the Rangers will put up a better fight than today, but Carolina's depth wins out there for me. I had Islanders in 5. The Barry Trotz effect. Like it was a 2-1 game today. Every
Yeah.
game in that series could easily go 2-1 between Quenneville
Oh,
and Trotz.
that would suck for the Panthers. They won
Yeah,
at 6-4.
like the Panthers, as great as Barkov, Huberdeau, Yandel are, the Islanders are just gonna suffocate that offense. So I got to give the edge to them there, and then I had Toronto in 5 over Columbus. I think their offense is just too much for Columbus. Columbus it's kind of like the Islanders. Columbus is going to have to hope to win games 1-0, 2-1. Like Columbus can't afford to get into a shootout with the Maple Leafs, which these games could easily become because of how loose it could get with maybe there's some breakdowns of structure where you haven't played in so long where the game could get very run and gun, and that's Toronto's game. Like Columbus can't keep up with them there. Round robin, I'm boring. I'm having it stay as is. Boston 1, Tampa 2, 3 Washington, 4 Philly. Um, I don't know. I just don't see 3 games as like enough for like anything crazy to happen. and where these
I don't really
teams.
know what to say about the round robin. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's so weird to me. But like, I'm kind of treating it as like, obviously they matter and they count for something, but I'm still treating them as like preparation games. Like at least for these top 4 teams in each conference, like they still have time to get ready to ramp up. Where the other 8 are just straight into meaningful games where the other guys can kind of work out some kinks still. So that's kind of how I'm treating these games. Obviously, it's going to be great to see competitive hockey, but I just don't see a ton happening in these round robins. So I'm pretty boring in the East there.
Are the refs pretty whistle happy? There's another penalty in the Penguins Montreal game. Every time I turn around, there's a penalty in that game. Like, I don't know what's going. The NBA referees were pretty whistle happy too. I don't know what's going on with these referees during these quarantine times. Like they're getting whistle happy here.
They couldn't blow the whistle for 2 months, so or 3 months.
Yeah, this is the Penguins' freaking 6th power play, and there's 13 minutes left.
Hey, mate, I'm not going to complain because I have Pittsburgh in 3. I need them to win. So.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool. That helps the Bruins. More power plays for the Bruins. Like, I'm here for it. It screwed them last year, but like, I just, like maybe this is going to be a super like just like power play heavy, special teams heavy tournament, which I'd be all fine for.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And what I'm thinking about is, sort of going back to the lottery thing. Like, I mean, I have Pittsburgh winning in 3. But in a normal year, I'd be happy if they, lost in the first round and just like seeing their fans like, oh no, we didn't even get a chance. But if that happens, then you turn around and they have a chance to get the first pick. Like, so some of these teams that I'm like not a fan of in the first round and normally would be all out rooting against, it's like I'm sort of holding back.
That's true.
Like, I don't know.
If the friggin' Penguins got Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and then the next guy this year, like just freaking get out of here.
That'd be horrible.
That's just too much. That's too much.
Or if Edmonton
it's an embarrassment of riches.
Or if Edmonton goes, Nugent Hopkins, Eberle, Yakupov, although he didn't work out, McDavid, Draisaitl, so on, and then.
Yeah, but they still get bounced the first round at least,
Yeah.
The Penguins win cups with those dudes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Chad, your predictions for the East.
My predictions pretty much all suck. I'm definitely not as educated as you people, but I mean, the Penguins I thought were going to win this Canadian series for sure. I really didn't think I like what I saw from the Canadiens this year against the Bruins. Like their roster just sucks. Like they're not very deep. Carey Price is obviously when he's on, he's as good as anybody in the league. But yeah, he hasn't been stellar, like you said, Pat, in multiple years now. I got the Rangers over the Hurricanes in 5. It's not looking too good right now. But I liked how the Rangers really revamped their whole lineup after going through the skid to start the season off. I know it's kind of unfortunate for them that they went through the 5-month break. I'm sure they wanted to just go right through it. But I'm not sure about Hurricanes goaltenders like last year during the playoffs. They kind of folded too. And David Ayers is going to save them this time around, so that no Zamboni drivers for this one. So I'm not sure about their goaltending sustaining.
Well, they're in Toronto.
That's also true. They can.
Ayers is there.
Is he there?
He could very well be there driving the Zamboni.
That'd be awesome if he's there. We need to talk to him now about him dealing with quarantine life.
All 3 goaltenders on the roster are just don't work, and he has to.
Ayers is just the e-bug for every team there.
That would be insane.
I wonder how that would work. Like, I guess,
is it? We're joking about it.
I guess that.
Is he like the backup guy?
I guess there's no need for it since every team brought like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think it would take an incredible amount of
catastrophe
luck. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that e-bug plan is in place. But like, imagine if like all these teams had to have e-bugs inside the bubble. That'd be crazy.
What if they do need it though? What if just some crazy thing happens, like 3 goalies get hurt, and then they need to go to Ayers again?
That'd be awesome.
I'm kind of rooting for chaos, but I'm kind of here for that.
Although,
I would love to see that.
Now that I think about it, I think
I want it to happen against Columbus now.
I think the only plausible situation in which like an e-bug would be necessary, and I mean, knock on wood that this doesn't happen, and they've been pretty good about it so far, but if for some reason like a team starts testing positive, like and you get like obviously the bubble seems to be working right now, so it doesn't seem like that'll be a thing, but if for some reason like one team starts testing positive, they're all living on the same floor. Like you could easily see 10 guys from one team go down. And if all of those have to be goaltenders, then that could completely screw a team. But I think they've got it. I'm knock on wood again, but I think they've got it under wraps so far. But that would be insane if something like that.
That'd be nuts if they need like 4 e-bugs.
Yeah.
If it's just like whoever's goalie is still alive, like the worst goaltender is still in the playoffs just gets it through. Oh my gosh, that'd be just incredible stuff. Also incredible again, Blackhawks. I can't believe it, guys. I did not think the Blackhawks were gonna be winning. I definitely had the Oilers in that series.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of moving on into the West for our predictions there. We'll go from the bubble in Toronto to the bubble in Edmonton. Joe, your predictions for the West qualifiers in round robin.
Yeah, so I had Winnipeg over Calgary in 4. Just, I don't know, I feel like I like the guys in Winnipeg. I think, they went to the conference finals a couple years ago. They've got that type of experience, so I think I trust them a little bit more there. I had Minnesota over Vancouver in 5. I don't know. I was a bit iffy on that one, but I just wanted to I didn't want to go chalk for every single one because I feel like one of these under or one of the lower seeded teams is going to get out of there. But so I just had that one going close. I had Nashville over Arizona in 3 because I feel like Arizona, they've got a lot of issues to work out, especially that whole situation in their front office. I don't know how much of a distraction it'll be, but I like what Nashville has, and I think I don't know, maybe it won't be a sweep, but I think they'll ultimately win the series to begin with. And then I had Edmonton over Chicago in 4, so they gotta win out from.
Got a sweep now.
I was imagining Chicago would win like Game 3 after Edmonton went up like 2-0 or something, but I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Then I had Colorado 1, St. Louis 2, Vegas 3, and Dallas 4. Just I don't know. These round robin ones, I just didn't try to overthink. I just went with like gut feeling here, so I don't really have strong opinions about putting either of these teams here. But I don't know. They've got a lot of good players right now. They've got a good young group too. I think they have the depth to sort of really make a move or really, start out strong. And then, St. Louis is obviously as good as anyone else out there. So yeah, that's sort of how I went with it.
Yeah. It's so weird trying to judge how these round robins are going to go. For my qualifiers, I had Edmonton in 3, obviously not going to happen now. So Joe's 4, or maybe 5. It's looking. Yeah. I think Edmonton's coming out of there regardless. I had a little bit of a spice up here. I had Arizona in 4 over Nashville. I am concerned about the amount of noise they have around them because of this whole John Chaika fiasco. But I think whether it's the goaltenders in Kemper and Ranta when they're healthy, like Darcy Kemper was slated to be a Vezina candidate this year before he got hurt. Antti Ranta's perfectly capable when he's healthy. On defense, you got whether it's Goligoski, who's still kind of hanging in there, although he's a little older. Jake Chychrun, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I think, is one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. And up front, you got proven playoff commodity Phil Kessel. Who would ever thought we'd say that? Taylor Hall, when he's on, needs no introduction. Clayton Keller, Derek Stepan. I think those are guys, not necessarily in Keller, but especially in Kessel and Stepan, guys who have been around the block before, whether it's with the Rangers, the Penguins, or whoever else Phil has done it with, Boston and Toronto. I like how Arizona looks there, especially compared to Nashville, where like the last 2 years, the power play's been putrid. 5-on-5, like especially this season, Forsberg, Johansson, and Arvidsson weren't incredible this year, like at least as far as expectations go. You do have Roman Josi, who put up 68 points and is a Norris finalist, and Ryan Ellis is obviously tremendous. But I mean, it's in net. I think it's another question mark. Like Pekka wasn't great this year. UC Saros doesn't have a ton of playoff experience, and it's like kind of today with the Rangers and Lundqvist and Shesterkin, who's going to go. You got some noise there. So I'm just leaning towards Arizona here. I like Vancouver over Minnesota in 4. I just think like obviously not quite the same scale as Pittsburgh because they're a much younger team, but just the names there, it's a gauntlet. Like when in net Jacob Markstrom, if he's on, easily one of the best in the league. Quinn Hughes on defense, him and Cale Makar and Miro Heiskanen just setting the tone for what a premier defenseman is going to be out west. Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Tyler Toffoli, Bo Horvat. I think there's just so many ways they could beat you, especially with the forward group. And then I got to go Calgary in 5 over Winnipeg. I just don't. Obviously Connor Hellebuck's amazing. He carried them this far, but Winnipeg, I don't think they just don't have it going on defense as far as depth goes, and even kind of in the bottom 6. I think Calgary, whether it's up front with Gaudreau, Monahan, Backlund, Kachuk, Mangiapane, who's kind of broken out this year, or on defense with, obviously they lost Hamonic, but you got still Giordano, Brody, Hannafin, and in that we'll see who they go with, whether it's Rittich or Talbot, but I think it's 2 guys who are good enough this year who can kind of maybe get you some games there. In the round robin, kind of boring again. Little shakeup though. I had Colorado 1. It's the same exact as Joe. Colorado 1, St. Louis 2, Vegas 3, Dallas 4. I have no idea how to judge these. I just know Colorado's by far the best roster in the West.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can kind of get into overall predictions in a little bit, but Colorado is just, I mean, unbelievable, the talent they got up front there. And even with on defense between Eric Johnson, Cale Makar needs no introduction. I did, on the Duck Boat Report at the beginning of the year, I did pick Dallas to win the Cup. I was all over Dallas, and then they were horrible to start the year, but then they picked it up. So I am kind of cautiously optimistic about them. I love Miro Heiskanen and John Klingberg, 2 of my favorite players that aren't on the Bruins in the league. But again, these round robins are so weird to judge that I'm kind of bland again.
Yeah, if I was betting before the season started, I would have put money on Dallas and Flyers to go all the way to the Cup because I thought they were going to be a very good team this year, and the odds were like awesome for them. I should have just put like $20 on them to win the Stanley Cup back in like October.
Or for Philly to be a top 4 seed in the East.
Yeah, seriously, I would have made like $50,000 on that. Oh gosh. Well, my predictions again. I'm pretty out of there with it honestly because I just think these games are going to be just bizarre. With it, you're already seeing it today with some just weird things happening. Like, can't believe the Montreal is still hanging with Pittsburgh. I got the Yotes over the Predators at 5. I really don't think the Nashville is very consistent. Like, they had issues with their coaching staff this year. Pekka Rinne's been awful in the postseason at times where he's just blown up and he's been basically like a hole. And I don't think they have enough consistency to really go with the young stud offensive firepower that are in Phoenix. And I think Phoenix is going to be pretty hungry because they've been kind of the laughing stock in the NHL the last few years. And I think their young core is going to be pretty excited to be in the postseason. I think the Wild suck, so I think the Canucks are going to beat them in probably 4 games. I really just don't think the Wild are very good. Like, they were one of the teams that really benefited from this play-in tournament because they would have been pretty much sniffing if they played all 82 games. I don't think. And then the other West, Flames in 5. I think their young studs are going to be fired up because last year they were the reason why they lost. Everybody was all over Mike Smith at the start of the year, but he was actually pretty good in the playoffs last year. But Johnny Gaudreau and their other young offensive-minded players didn't really show up. So then that'll, light a fire under them, if I could use that phrase. And I really thought that the Oilers were going to sweep the Blackhawks or maybe win, in 4. So they got to pretty much win the next 3 games for them. And for the round robin, I think Vegas is going to win. I don't really know why. I think Andre Fleury is going to be just feeling it. And then Avalanche, Blues, Stars. I think that's it's probably the most well-balanced part of the East. Has the 3 juggernauts, but then the top 4 seeds in the West are probably better than the top 4 seeds in the East because I think Dallas is probably better than Philadelphia right now. And then if I missed any other picks earlier, I probably did. I think the Blue Jackets are going to accept the Maple Leafs because I think the Maple Leafs are just going to be there's be too much pressure on them. All the sports media is going to be focusing on them more, and they're quarantining in Toronto. I think they're going to fold, and it's going to be weird for them playing in August because they never get past May anyway. And then I think Panthers Islanders was a pretty interesting series, I thought, because it was such an interesting dichotomy of offense versus defense. You saw today how the Panthers were pretty sloppy with the puck. It led to a couple goals for them. But if the Islanders can keep it in a close game like that, like they're always going to win a 2-1 game. If they can get 6-5, I think the Panthers aren't going to have a problem out shooting them. I would have probably said Islanders in 5 because I think it's going to be a pretty close series throughout. And if I miss anything for the East, it's Bruins. I'll mix it up with Capitals, Lightning, and then Flyers. Flyers. I don't really know why. I'm just feeling it.
All right. I like those off the dome instinct picks. I guess before we wrap up things here, kind of just again with these off the dome picks, if real quick, your guy, like the team you think will come out of the East, the team you think out of the West, your Cup champion, and your Conn Smythe winners. If that's not too much to, like, I would say, like,
Are we gonna be super biased, or are we?
so I'm gonna kind of stick with the theme I did on the Duck Boat report, but we can get to me. But Brady and I thought about doing like our conference finals matchups, but just the fluctuation we could get with matchups here, that would be a fruitless task. Like there would be so many like potential matchups we could get. So just the two teams you got coming out of each conference, your Cup winner and your Conn Smythe winner.
Joe, you can go. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to assess because I really haven't been thinking much past the first round so far. So I'm just
I know. Is it gonna be like one of like a 10 or 11 seed? Are they gonna make the Stanley Cup Finals?
Yeah, that would be
Like
nuts.
I think if there's a team to do that, it would be like Edmonton, or they're not even a 10 or a 12 seed. They're right there.
And they're reseeding after each round, so they'd really have to. They'd be taking down the best guys available. And
that's true. It would have to be like the
that point,
12 Kings.
But
That'd be nuts.
Yeah, I think. All right. I mean, the East is boring, but I really think Tampa, Washington, Boston are like the three best ones. I can't like really differentiate between the two. I think maybe because I don't know. I think Tampa's like I feel like this could be the year for Tampa, and this is like sort of weird. Like it's been there obviously everything that's happened so far, and I feel like the teams that sort of fall the hardest tend to rebound like the biggest, if that makes sense. But so I'll just go with Tampa in this one, coming out of the East, and then I think Colorado and Vegas are probably my two teams for the West, with Colorado having the edge there. And then I'll give all right, if Tampa wins, then I think I'll give Vasilevsky the Conn Smythe.
Oh, really?
Okay.
And then because I feel like they're gonna go through so many with the reseeding and everything. I mean, I guess we have to see how the round robin plays out, but I think this is just gonna be insane. Like, there's gonna be a lot of high scoring games. I mean, we saw what happened with Edmonton, Chicago, and I feel like for them to get there, he's really gonna have to stand on his head. So if they get that far, I think he'll have the, he'll sort of have the resume to earn that. Mm-hmm. Maybe Kucherov too, obviously.
He'll get suspended though. He'll cross-check someone in the neck. Yeah. He'll miss like 3 games.
And then for Colorado, I'll just go with Nate McKinnon just because he's the guy there. He's gonna be the one that leads them there if they get that.
All right, solid picks. Chad, what say you?
I'm just going to go total hat right now, and no just emotion will be just left over for this one. Bruins are going to revamp, and they're going to get over the hump this year with this core and win the second cup for Char and Bergeron. They're going to beat the Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games. I really think this year's going to be redemption for them because they were ready to freaking go when this season started. I think they were incredibly motivated and unbelievably pissed off how they lost Game 7 last year in an embarrassing fashion when they were all over St. Louis early in the game. They didn't pot one of them, and the tears of ice just afterwards with Marchand sent 1,000 gifs on Twitter. I'm tired of seeing that. I really think they're going to play lights out throughout most of the postseason because last year, honestly, like Rask kind of bailed them out during every single series except Carolina because there were times where the entire offense really wasn't clicking as much. And I think after this layoff, the top line will be well rested, well adjusted. Pasternak's back and scoring in the I don't even know what you call the scrimmage game against Columbus, so he's looked pretty good. I think that Vegas will be very good in the West. I really like Andre Fleury for the postseason, but not against the Bruins. They know how to deal with him. Marchand and Bergeron will just tell him always to go high, go offside, and they'll score some goals on him. And Conn Smythe a little bit out of the box there, but my guy, TK47, Torrey Krug's going to win the Conn Smythe. Underrated playoff performer, has produced throughout Boston's entire postseason run. He was probably their best player last year other than Rask. After he was probably concussed against that Toronto hit. Came back and was awesome for the next 4 rounds. Very consistent. Awesome power play performer. Bruins really rely on the postseason for scoring power play goals. And with how it's on so far, it looks like special teams is going to be the name of the game. And that really benefits the Bruins. And it's going to benefit Torrey Krug more than anybody. So that's what I got. Bruins redemption for last year. Torrey Krug, Conn Smythe. And hopefully they sign him after that year.
And all right, and real quick, I don't know if you guys are
I just saw the penalty shot, right?
Sheary with the miss.
Yeah, Sheary just totally pushed that penalty shot wide. I didn't see what led to it, but I just looked up and saw him
just a misfire
taking the shot. But
this angle here shows Price getting a piece of it. No, he just misfired.
He missed it. But
there was room there too. He knows it.
Did anyone see what caused the shot or like what led to the?
I caught the replay out of the corner of my eye, and it didn't look like it was anything egregious. It was probably one of those things like the defender got the stick parallel, and that's just probably gonna be a hook all day long. Mm-hmm. But for my predictions,
down to the wire now.
I gotta ride the train for the Bruins until we run out of track off the cliff.
Just like last year.
I think out of the East, it's either Boston or Tampa Bay. I think those two teams are just going to be total scorched earth, especially with the way the season went. Not quite the same for Tampa, but in the second half, they were pretty scorched earth. And out of the West, I think regardless, it's Colorado. It's right in the face of my Dallas pick at the beginning of the year, but I think it's Colorado. And again, I'll ride the wave with the Bruins. I think they'll win it. If it's them, Tuukka Rask, Conn Smythe. He was the guy last year. He was unbelievable. Obviously, he's kind of didn't look great against Columbus, and is now dealing with whatever he's dealing with, and might not go tomorrow. But I think the way he played this year, Vezina finalist, he's just far too good to think anything otherwise might happen this postseason. If little cheating here with multiple picks, but if Tampa makes it out of the West, if Tampa wins, I got to go with Victor Hedman.
Stud.
Yeah, just the classic stud defenseman that will step up and kind of shut down everyone in his wake in the playoffs. But for Colorado, if they win, this was tough for me. I originally said when Brady and I went through our predictions on the Duck Boat Report, I originally said Cale Makar for Conn Smythe because like young players just come in.
That's a pretty hot take.
Like young players just come in and play lights out in the playoffs for whatever most times, like just blacking out and just going. And like that kind of happened with Cale Makar last year before they got eliminated. Might happen again this year. I changed my pick to Mikko Rantanen, but now thinking about it over the last few days, or like Mikko Rantanen's just a moose. Like he's 6'4", he's got the speed, he's got the hands, he's got the shot. He can beat you any which way. He's crazy that a guy that big is that fast and skilled. But I've been thinking about it a little more, and I like Gabe Landeskog as my pick for the Conn Smythe if Colorado were to win. Just the captain there, obviously, but kind of your quintessential power forward for today. Obviously, not quite as big and imposing as Tom Wilson, but still plays with that snarl and that physical edge, and just a great finisher, especially on that line with McKinnon and Rantanen. So those are my guys kind of in the ballpark for the Conn Smythe if Colorado were to win.
And Pat, keep mentioning what you're talking about with Brady. Well, what's Ethan got? What was his predictions for the NHL playoffs this year?
we didn't have Ethan on that pod. Ethan's not a big hockey guy.
I would just like to hear what he had to say about anything. Andrew Wiggins is going to win the Conn Smythe. Right?
Andrew Wiggins.
I feel kind of bad for not going with Washington here. You guys are pretty confident.
Well, that's because you're an unbiased journalist. Man. You're an unbiased journalist. Unbiased.
Well, I actually want Washington to win. I feel like I feel like recent champions, they sort of have like just a little bit of a knock against them. I think Ovechkin's as hungry as he ever will be. He had
so much fun that summer. Like, you don't think he wants to do that again?
Right. So I don't know. I'm hoping the will to get Kovalchuk a cup will be the driving force for the core there. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think those are the three teams coming out of the East regardless, unless Pittsburgh just goes scorched earth, which they very well could be.
And looks like this one's heading to
Let's
overtime.
going to overtime.
Yeah, this one heads to OT just as
First
Winnipeg
one, right?
Calgary's getting
No
underway.
one else went in overtime today, right?
Nope, no one else.
Oh, yeah. So
It was only the 2 1-goal games were in regulation, although the Rangers made it interesting late. But no overtime yet. First, could we see the first Bucci overtime challenge from John Butchie Goss?
That's true. What did you guys think of the broadcast? So I only saw the clips on the NHL app, and a couple of them were from like the local broadcast. But it seemed like the NHL for NBC was a little bit delayed. It was a couple seconds behind when Emmerich finally realized they scored. Did you guys notice that?
I know Doc is remote, so that could be part of it. I
definitely noticed it in the highlights. He was a couple seconds behind, and couldn't tell which guy scored on like one of the Blackhawks goals.
Yeah, and also I'm not 100% sure if it was true. I thought I remember seeing it, but I could be wrong. But like the NHL might be running these games on like a 5-second delay in case there's language that they don't want.
They're doing that for audio, yeah. So I don't know if
so
it's
dumb.
synced up.
Let us hear it.
Which sucks. Oh my god, I would buy again. We've talked about it before on like every single radio show we've ever done. Mic them up and have it be like through HBO. Pay like a premium where you can watch just mic'd up. The entire game's live. I pay for that.
Or even do like what the Last Dance did, where like on one channel they had like the full the full version, and then on like ESPN2 they had the censored or like the safe for. I don't know how censored it was because I obviously watched the full one, the regular one, uncensored one. But I feel like doing something like that, especially when there are no fans in there, I think that would be just awesome.
Because I've seen this like European league where if you find like a 20-minute NHL rants, like on ice rants, it's unbelievable how much you heard in this one like European penalty box. Basically, it's like the guy was in the living room talking to you. It's like that'd be incredible if that was how the NHL was. I would really just like to hear more mic'd up for it. Like we always talk about how baseball sucks with managing their players for it. The NHL doesn't do a great job of it really either, because a lot of the people just think that they're just dumb Canadians, pucks in deep, forecheck and hit guys. But then like when you get them on these platforms like Spit and Chicklets or with NBC and they do their interviews with it, you really see like they're not just all dumb hockey players. Mm-hmm. They have some personality for it. So I think having it be mic'd up would be a really good idea for the league. Because did you guys catch that Penguins Flyers like 50-minute NHL mic'd up thing they did for the Winter Classic, not the Winter Classic, the outdoor game last year?
I saw clips of that, yeah.
Because that was awesome.
That was awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I just want more of it.
Yeah, the NHL just is not great at marketing its players. Like I saw, or at least a lot of people in like group chats like oh, NHL did such a good job with Seattle and their release and stuff. It's like that was all Seattle. Don't give the league any credit for that. That was all Seattle and their marketing. Like the NHL is so bad at marketing their players, and they've gotten better at it over the last year or so, and kind of coming into this thing, but there's so much more work to do.
Absolutely.
But any final thoughts before we wrap up, boys?
I mean, how fired up are you, Pat, for Boston's triple header tomorrow? Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox. I
don't know how excited I could be for the Red Sox.
Not only more excited because it's like a must-win. Like they can't afford to lose any more games.
Yeah, I mean they can't afford to lose them, so they're going to just be in the red for their ratio. I don't know what the word is, but I was excited for the Red Sox for a brief period, and I was like, oh wait, there's just no pitchers on this team. And Celtics looked promising, although Giannis apparently has 8 fouls. And I'm so happy to see the Bruins back. I just hope they don't disappoint me. That's my worst. Like the worst case scenario is an exit before the second round. That just would be nightmare.
That would wreck me.
Honestly, anything before the conference finals is just a failure.
Because I'm getting to the point where like I can't really be like the fan anymore unless I like get hired by Barstool. It's like this is really like the last year, guys, where I could really be just like hooting and hollering for the team to actually win. After
Yeah, and
this,
it's
you got to
like,
go to big journalism,
and it's like this one hurts a lot. Would hurt a lot because it's like the last probably real crack with this group.
Especially if they lose Krug. If they lose
Yeah,
Krug, I'm going to need you to
like
console me, Pat.
between the age and potentially losing Torrey Krug, it just seems like this is like the last shot. Also seems like that way for a lot of teams like Nashville. Like
It
they've been
does. It really
they've been
sees that way for Tampa, too.
yeah,
When they're up against the cap,
like Tampa and Nashville, like Nashville's been trying to kick this can for years, and it's like, how many more goes can you do with this group? But I guess you could say the same thing about the Bruins, and they haven't won since 2011. But Joe, any final thoughts?
I mean, I'm just obviously, I think I speak for everyone when I'm just happy to see the game back and just jumping right into this crazy playoff scenario. And obviously, we'll be rooting hard for the Caps to win, but I think it'll be really interesting to see how this all plays out and, you know, how much of these changes will like carry over to the future. I think if depending on how the ratings go, I don't think there'd be like a 24 team thing every year, but I'm wondering if they're gonna like experiment with this round robin in the future or something like that, depending on how it does, because that just means more playoff games, which means more TV money, and once fans are back in the stands, then it's more, you know, revenue for tickets. So I'm wondering like which parts of the changes here are going to carry over to the real, or just once things get back to normal, I guess.
And I'm curious also this year, are they going to be doing any day playoff games during the week, like how MLB has done throughout I wonder if this year, if the NBA and NHL want to do maybe like 12 hours of content throughout the day, 15 hours of content, and have more games on throughout the day. I'm not sure if that would work. Maybe by September, more people are back in the office working. Maybe they're still at home, and maybe it makes sense for the NHL to do. I'm not really sure how it would feel for college students. I'm sure we'll have always time to watch, but I'd be curious to see how they handle this going forward as well.
Although I don't know, if we can learn from anywhere, then if there's like a game going on, you got a class and a game at the same time, you could just hook up you could just stay in your room for the day, and then
that's true. Calling in sick.
Yeah, I am excited. Like the way the schedule is, like we should have this hockey all day thing at least until like the end of the first round or so, when the teams start getting weeded out. But real quick before we go, in the start of Winnipeg Calgary, awkward collision between Matt Tkachuk and Mark Scheifele. Scheifele's left leg kind of got pinned and awkwardly, and he's just writhing in pain. Didn't put any weight on it leaving the ice, which is a tough break for Winnipeg and those who predicted Winnipeg.
I'm gonna have. I might have had to alter it anyway, but I may have to change that that prediction.
Yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in, everyone who's listening. I'm sure we'll be back again throughout the playoffs to update and check in on our predictions and talk some hockey and just sports in general. We're so happy to have them back. But thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.